being like super adamant about how much he loved this work. And he was like, no, you're wrong. My boss just called me, I have to go back into work. Definitely full of himself and a little bit douchey. Hey guys, I'm Lo, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Fellow Friday video. So before we start this video, I want to address the elephant in the room. I have a new background. I moved to London. For those of you who don't know, you can check out all my moving series and vlogs on my channel and I'll link them down below, so be sure to catch up with that if you haven't. But I'm back with also making Fellow Friday videos. I hope I can make a lot of interesting new ones about dating in London as well. I haven't done any dates in London yet, but I know I definitely will. So yeah, let's jump into this Fellow Friday. So for those of you who don't know, Fellow Friday is a series on my channel where I talk about a different kind of fella or boy every Friday. So today's Fellow Friday is about the last date I went on in Amsterdam, and it's about the investment banker. So this was definitely an interesting experience. So I met this guy, let's call him Matt, on Tinder, and we definitely talked for a while. I like kind of just kept wanting to, I think this was in around July that we went on a date, or maybe August, and I kept like wanting to hang out, but he was super busy because he worked in investment banking. So obviously I understand that, like he had like a full-time job and he had like insane hours, he would tell me. So I think we ended up talking for like 3-4 weeks before we actually like managed to get together. So it was kind of crazy, and like I think once before we even had plans and he canceled because he had to work late. It's fine, you know. I was like, okay, this guy's an investment banker, he was international, he was from America and he'd like lived in the Netherlands for a while. I was like, okay, an American, you know, we can like connect on that. And our conversations were really funny. He was definitely pretty direct and we were pretty flirty, but in like a, what's the best way to say this, like in an intelligent way, which I really like it was definitely like banter and kind of like intelligent flirting, not like you look sexy. So yeah, that was really fun and I liked getting to know him. So we were gonna meet up for drinks for him after work. So we decided to meet up at this cafe in Amsterdam-Zuid in like the south of Amsterdam. And we get there at like the same time, so it was perfect. So we sat down and then the first weird thing happened. So not weird, I mean anyone can like order what they want on a date, but if you're gonna go get drinks, he was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna order an espresso because I might need to get back to work later. So I was like, okay. And I was like, well, I feel kind of awkward like drinking alone, so I ordered a tea, which if you go for drinks at like, I think it was like 7 p.m, I'm usually not drinking tea. But okay, you know, it was fine. And basically we started talking. I kind of felt like a lot of the conversation was coming from my side, so I was asking him a lot of questions about his work and stuff like that. And he would be telling me stuff like how he has to work 90-hour like weeks and stuff like that, and he works from like 9 a.m. in the morning until like 12 a.m. at night, and he loves it. And I was saying like, whoa, it's really intense. But he was being like super adamant about how much he loved this work, which good for you, like I'm super happy that you love your work. But it was like very into like the whole banking world. Then we kind of were talking about coronavirus, because obviously like coronavirus was like a big thing. And I remember like me saying something about how I didn't really believe in certain things, or my opinion on certain matters. And he was like, no, you're wrong. And I was like, excuse me, like that's my opinion. I study medicine, like I have a somewhat of an idea how viruses work. He was like, no, that's not how the virus works. And I was like, okay. He was like, yeah, no, because I have like business partners in China, this and this. So he like goes on to this whole tirade of like how much he like knows and how I was wrong, which felt pretty weird. So that was kind of my second red flag. So first was like drinking the espresso, and definitely because of the espresso it kind of seemed like he was super like hopped up, like he was talking like a lot and pretty fast. And then we started talking about fraternities, because he'd been in a fraternity, and I was kind of giving my opinion, and like I was kind of saying like, oh yeah, like I haven't, the fraternity that he was in the US has kind of a bad name. So I was kind of saying that I'd heard stuff about them, and like, oh, and like how his experience was. And he was like, no, it was amazing, like brotherhood, love it. So he just like goes onto this rampage about like how amazing his fraternity was. So again, it kind of felt like I didn't really have the chance to like give my opinion, which like if you love your fraternity, again, like good for you, but I'm allowed to have an opinion about it. And he was like, no, 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 you're wrong, like fraternities aren't bad, like blah blah blah. It gets like blown up in the news. And I was like, okay. And literally in that time, like I don't think he asked me a question about myself once. Like I literally think like I asked all the questions. I know a lot about this guy and I feel like he knows nothing about me. So automatically I was already like, okay, there's not really a connection for me, but you know, I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna, you know, sit this date out, whatever. And maybe, who knows, maybe it'll be like, it'll get more fun. Maybe I'll get some alcohol into him. So I kept saying like, oh, are you sure you don't want to drink? Like, let's grab a drink, like you're off work. It's like, no, 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 like he was already being a little bit vague, like, oh, I might go back to the office later. And I was like, we're having drinks at like, I think it was like 8, maybe even. Like, we're having drinks at 8 p.m. You're gonna go back to the office later. And definitely a bit rude. He kept like checking his phone, which I think that's a big no-no for me on a date. Like, if you don't have time to go on a date, don't go on a date, but don't go on a date and like check your phone the whole time. So I'm like a little bit like, what am I doing here? And we finished like our 1 espresso and 1 tea, and at that moment he gets a phone call, and I'm like, oh, you have a phone call? He's like, yeah, I have to take it. But he doesn't walk away. He like sits at the table and takes the phone call, and he's like, yeah, talking to someone, something about like project gone wrong, I don't even know, something. So he basically gets off the phone. He's like, yeah, no, I'm sorry, an intern screwed up one of our projects, my boss just called me, I have to go back into work. And I think we've been on a date for like 45 minutes. So I don't know, it might be true, he might have like screwed up the project, we might have to go back, but it just felt like also like a crazy excuse. I was like, okay. So he paid for the espresso and the tea, and he got on his bike and went back to work. We hugged, we didn't kiss or anything, and he texted me after to say like sorry and we should really do dinner sometime. And I was like, yeah, no, like no worries, hope everything went okay with your project. And he never replied, and I never replied either, because I didn't really like feel the need to see him again. But it was definitely like a weird date. I think definitely like my takeaway from dates with investment bankers, and I'm sure not everyone liked this, but he was definitely full of himself and a little bit douchey. It was like all about him and his work and like what he was doing. And he, you know, like his work was definitely the most important part. Like I don't think he was looking for a relationship or like a girlfriend. Not that I was looking for him to be my boyfriend, but I just mean like he was definitely just like interested in himself and his work, and not someone else would be like a second priority, which I'm sure not all investment bankers are like this, but I think inherently if your job is like 90 hours a week, you're gonna not have a lot of time for something else. And yeah, it just like felt weird the way he ended it. Maybe he had to go back to work, maybe that's investment banking life, but maybe he just wanted to get out of the date. So definitely it wasn't like the best last date I had in Amsterdam. It was okay. It was an interesting experience. I always thought I would go for a finance guy, because I guess I've dated just a lot of guys who have been like business majors or econ majors, and I've always had this thing like, oh my god, I'm totally gonna end up like a Wall Street guy. And now I'm like, yeah, probably not, because he was just kind of arrogant and not a nice guy. So yeah, I guess that's what I've learned. I'm sure other people have had better experiences with investment bankers, and maybe I need to give one another shot, but that was just that interesting date experience. And I guess my tip was, don't expect yourself to be a priority. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that story. Definitely more stories coming soon. I still have a lot from the past and hopefully a lot in the future. So yeah, new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, let me know what you thought, let me know if you've ever dated an investment banker, and I will see you guys again soon for a new video. Bye guys!